asanas in the warm-up. So come onto the hands and knees. And as you come onto the hands and knees, take your third block, bring that block all the way up in between the thighs so it touches your pelvic floor. So you just have a little hip awareness. This gives you a little hip awareness and thigh awareness, something you can't really look back at. So then place the hands on the floor with the hands underneath the shoulders. Turn the fingers slightly out. Walk the knees back a little bit, reach the arms forward, then press into the hands, lifting the knees up and the block up, coming into a downward facing dog, and breathe. Inhale. Exhale 1, inhale. Exhale 2, inhale. Exhale 3, inhale. Exhale 4, inhale. If there's any adjustments, you do it. Exhale 5, don't just look at me. Inhale. Exhale 6, inhale. Exhale 7, inhale. Exhale 8, inhale. Exhale 9, inhale. Exhale 10. On the inhale, come forward to a plank. As you come forward to plank, squeeze the blocks with your legs and press into the floor and look at the wall in front of you. Exhale 1, inhale. Exhale 2, inhale. Exhale 3, inhale. Exhale 4, inhale. Exhale 5, inhale. Exhale 6, inhale. Exhale 7, inhale. Exhale 8, inhale. Exhale 9, inhale. Exhale, go back to a downward facing dog, lifting the hips. Soften the knees, walk the feet forward till the feet are flat on the floor and the feet are underneath the hips. Press the palms into the floor. Now listen, if you're bending your knees or your fingers are just touching the floor, take your 2 blocks, put the blocks underneath your hands. Now look up and notice if you're bending your knees. So straighten your legs, and if you still are having a hard time, look up at me. You're going to lift the blocks up to whatever height you need. Yep, and then look back at your block between the legs and breathe. Inhale, modified Uttanasana. Exhale 1, inhale. Exhale 2, inhale. Exhale 3, inhale. Exhale 4, inhale. Exhale 5, inhale. Exhale 6, inhale. Exhale 7, inhale. Exhale 8, inhale. Exhale 9, inhale. Exhale 10. Lift the head and chest up. Bend your knees now. Notice how when you bend your knees, you're coming toward the floor. Put the block behind you between your legs on the highest setting. Step the feet out as wide as the yoga mat. Come on and set on that block. Then bring the hands together. And as you bring the hands together, bring your elbows in between your knees and kind of push out with your forearms. So you lift your chest up a little bit. So you're kind of lifting up and looking forward. Exhale 1, little hip opener. Exhale 2, inhale, set on the block. Exhale 3, there you go. Exhale 4, inhale. Exhale 5, inhale. Exhale 6, inhale. Exhale 7, inhale. Exhale 8, inhale. Exhale 9, inhale. Exhale 10. Now lift the hips up. Take the block, put it to the side. Come sit down. Straighten the legs out in front of you. Bend the right knee into the chest. Step the right foot on the outside of the left knee. You don't have to go any higher. So bring the foot down a little bit. Even though you can get it way up there, it's just a warm up. You don't have to go all the way this time. Okay. Now, lift the left arm up alongside the left ear. Bring your left elbow on the outside of your right thigh. Take your right hand behind you closer to your hip and look over your right shoulder. Pull your left toes back. Inhale. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. Inhale. Exhale 3. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. Exhale 5, then inhale, come center, and exhale, straighten your right leg out, bend your left knee, put your left foot on the outside of your right knee, you don't have to go any higher yet, pull your right toes back, lift your right arm up, right elbow on the outside of the left hand behind you, push into your left hand and twist. Exhale 1, Inhale, pull your right toes back. Exhale, 2. Feel your hamstrings working. Exhale, 3. Veronique, can you check those feet out? Look, Veronique. Exhale, 4. Yep, there, that foot 2. There you go. Inhale. Exhale, 5. On your inhale, come back to center. Exhale, extend your left leg. Take your block again. Take it to that width. Put it between the thighs. You know, you can feel what your inner thigh muscles are doing because you got to squeeze. Okay, take your feet hip-width distance apart, so they should be parallel. Hands behind you 6 to 8 inches. Bring your chin to your chest. Now, squeeze the block with your thighs and lift it up into the air. Press your toes down. Exhale, 1. Veronique, check out the toes and get the feet back right here. Exhale, 2. Inhale. Exhale, 3. Inhale. Exhale, 4. Walk your feet back. Inhale. Exhale, 5. There you go. Inhale. Exhale, 6. Inhale. Exhale, 7. Inhale. Exhale, 8. Inhale. Exhale, 9. Inhale. Exhale, come down. All right. Now take that block, put it aside. Come sit on a couple of blankets. All right. How is everybody? So that's your warm-up. You'll always do that warm-up, no matter what. You'll always do that warm-up. And I'm going to give you a couple of tissues. Don't use them yet. Sometimes people grab them and blow their nose. Don't use them yet. Okay? And so this is week 2 of Urban Sadhu Yoga Fundamentals. Week 2 is forward folds and hip openers. Forward folds karmically deal with our past. It reveals tightness in the back of the body, right? And it's stuff that's behind you. It's already happened, right? So it's always about the past. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves to each other. I'm Austin. So we should also just talk a second about how the class is conducted. This class, unlike Sana has been to open classes and all kinds of classes. This is like a workshop, right? You can stop and ask questions. We're going to be co-teaching the class together, so you'll get 2 teachers today. But if you have any questions, stop and say, I don't understand what you're saying. Don't feel afraid to ask questions, okay? Like I said, we'll also teach how to use props. We'll also teach how to look at these things in detail. So this is a technical class, even more so technical than an open class, because we're going to look at each of these as a compartmentalized thing, like a workshop. Today, I start out by teaching you a kriya. The word kriya in Sanskrit translates into action. That's all it means, is an action. But usually a kriya has something to do with the physical cleansing of the body. So if you've seen somebody scrape their tongue, and tongue scraping would be considered a kriya, or washing out your mouth, brushing your teeth, that would be considered a kriya. This kriya is about the sinuses. So take one of your tissues, bring it up to your nose, give it a good blow. Good. And then right now during allergy seasons, that's probably really helpful. And then roll that up and put it aside. So what did you notice that you had to do when you blew your nose out really hard? But physically, what did you have to do that? And what was it about the exhale? It was strong and forceful. Okay, so to blow your nose, there is a strong and forceful exhale that has to happen. Now, let's do this. Okay, and I want you to start noticing what's happening in your body as you do these things. Take the tissue, hold it by the corners. I want you to close your mouth, and I want you to make one strong exhale through the nose and make the tissue move. Okay, try this. So what I'm seeing is, bring the tissue down, watch me. So what I'm seeing is a little bit of this. like you're trying to blow out birthday candles. No, it's not that. I want you to make one strong exhale like that. Like you're trying to get something out of your nose that's stuck up here. Think of it that way. So bring the tissue up here and go, make it flutter. That's better. So now what are you noticing that's happening when you just touched your abdomen? What are you noticing that's happening as you make that exhale that sharp? But what, tell me what's happening here. There's a pushing so there's a pressure that's happening, right? Okay. So what's happening is how many people have ever heard of the diaphragm? Okay, what is the diaphragm? Can anybody tell me? Yes. So it's a muscle, though, that separates your abdomen from your lungs and your internal organs. So do you know what the diaphragm does? Sometimes I like to ask you, because then you're just not listening to me babble. What does the diaphragm do? Yes. Yes. So in reality, what's happening is the diaphragm is actually what causes the lungs to fill with air and what causes the lungs to have the air exit. Okay? It's not the lungs. The lungs on their own are not working. They're a balloon. The diaphragm is what's doing the work. Most people don't know what the diaphragm is or are very unfamiliar with it. Unless you're a singer, if you've taken vocal lessons, then you understand. If you're an actor, you understand the diaphragm. If you're a musician who plays a woodwind or a brass instrument, you pretty much know what the diaphragm is, because all of that forcing up of air happens through this muscle of the diaphragm. Well, in yoga, when you practice this kriya, what you're really doing is not just blowing out your nose. You're learning to use the diaphragm. And everybody say Kapalabhati. Kapalabhati. Kapala is skull. Bhati is shining. Kapalabhati is a skull shining. It's a kriya practice where you make short exhales over and over and over and over and over and over again. The inhales happen passively. In other words, the inhale is not dominant anymore. Most of our inhales are dominant and our exhales are passive. We're going to reverse that. The exhale becomes very dominant, like a clap, and the diaphragm flutters. And you only breathe in halfway, not the full breath. So you have space to make the diaphragm move. And the diaphragm sips a little bit of air back into the body. Okay? And this technique looks like this. You're just going to watch me. I'm going to sit. I want to keep my shoulders soft. I want to keep my face soft. And I want to set up tall so I can actually move, have room to breathe and move. I'm going to inhale deeply through the nose. I'm going to exhale everything out to the bottom. I'm going to only inhale halfway. And then I'm going to start making short exhales. Just watch me. And I'm going to continue that until the end. But it happens because I'm learning to learn to make the diaphragm flutter. Okay? So everybody, take your hand to your abdomen so you can feel your diaphragm, and close your eyes and inhale deeply through the nose. Feel your belly expand and feel the diaphragm push down, like you said. Now exhale everything out and feel the diaphragm lift up toward the lungs. Yeah. Now inhale halfway to a comfortable level and make short exhales on my clap. Exhale, 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 exhale. Pump, 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 pump. Exhale everything out. And then inhale deeply and exhale. How did that feel? So hard in what way? Right? Yeah. And how did it make you feel? Yes. So why would this week do you think I would teach Kapalabhati in forward folds and hip openers? Why would I teach Kapalabhati in week 2, forward folds and hip openers? It does bring awareness to the breath. It absolutely does. But why would I technically want to teach you how to manipulate the diaphragm in forward folds and hip openers? Well, you're going to fold forward. Well, if you think about it, if I'm going to come into a forward fold and I breathe in and I push my belly out, I can't fold forward. But if I can learn to pull the internal organs in and up, I can learn to fold forward. So this Kriya not only is like a traditional cleansing, but it teaches you that, like, if you're trying to go into a forward fold, you want to learn to manipulate the diaphragm and move the internal organs internally to get there, or even a twist. If I am twisting and I do it on an inhale, I can only go so far, but if I exhale everything out and pull the diaphragm in, I can get into a deeper twist. So there's something practical about it, okay? Usually inhales happen when the body expands. Exhales happen when the body folds in on itself, okay? So that's really the reason why we're teaching Kapalabhati this week. Considering the idea that on inhales it's expansion and exhales it's contractions, Veronique is going to teach us something very interesting.
So we're going to do Surya Namaskar, which is a sun salutation. And I'm going to first make you go through it as a one cycle. So without going into full detail, I'm going to demonstrate and guide you. If you want, you can demo, yeah. And then after we'll go into detail so that you get a sense of the whole cycle, and then we'll go. So don't be worried if you don't quite grasp it from the beginning. Okay, so come forward, stand up. You can bring your blocks the same way and Austin on the side. It's going to help you. And we're going to stand upright in Tadasana. So hands aside you, stand up. Exhale. Inhale, hands forward, lift up. Exhale, bend and arms down. Inhale, bring one leg backwards in a lunge. Right leg. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, come to, plank. Exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Inhale, bring your right leg in a lunge, forward. Exhale, bring your other leg to reach the leg, and then bend into Uttanasana. Inhale, arms in a prayer and up. Exhale, Tadasana. Okay. Inhale, hands up in a prayer. Exhale, Uttanasana, bend forward. Inhale, left leg out in a lunge. Inhale, come to downward facing dog. Exhale, to a plank. Inhale, downward facing dog. Exhale, left leg come forward in a lunge. Inhale, Uttanasana. Exhale, arms in a prayer and up. Exhale, Tadasana. So that was one cycle, a bit.
So just so you know, always one right and one left. If you're stepping forward and back, you got to do a left to make a full cycle. So you wouldn't stop in Tadasana.
Okay.
You would just continue to the left because
that's the full cycle. Okay. Okay. So now, as you can see, I'm learning how to teach you. So.
It's harder to teach than to do it.
So the first step is the grounding, and it's the start of everything in yoga. It's Tadasana. Asana means seat, and you learn how to put your seat and learn how to stand on your feet. We have all. Week one, that's true. I don't have to go. Okay.
Your job, down dog, plank, and lunge.
Okay.
That's your job.
Okay. So, Tadasana, hands along your body.
Start with down dog.
We'll start with like.
And lunge. You're not teaching Tadasana.
Okay. Okay, down dog. So, to come into down dog, you bring first you come into Uttanasana. No, just go straight to down dog.
This is what I do. Everybody, go back to the wall. This is what I did last time, remember? Sit down, legs extended out in front of you. Come sit down on your legs, and your sacrum against the wall. Okay? Now, straighten your legs out. Pull your toes back towards you in a dorsiflex. So you should feel your hamstrings. Okay, so I'm going to pull these back toward me. Now, lift your arms up alongside your ears. Now, bring your elbows a little closer to your forehead. Now, turn your palms out and push the ceiling away as if you're trying to hold the ceiling up at a dance. You know, like you breathe and exhale one, in, exhale two, in, exhale three, in, exhale four, in, exhale lower your arms. So what shape are you making? It's an L shape, yes, there's a triangle there. What shape are you making? What asana have we done that you should feel like this? Downward dog. This is the same thing as a downward dog. Now turn it on its feet and teach it, Veronique.
Okay.
Now flip it around.
So now if you come you put your hands forward, and you have the exact same shape with your hands spread, feet slightly bended, hips lifting up. And back straight, you spread your wings, spread your... You look towards your chins, you look towards your feet and your chin, and exhale. Inhale, exhale one, inhale, exhale two, inhale.
Okay, so everybody come down. So whenever we're teaching an asana, because you said right, asana means seat, but we want to start with the seat. What does the seat do? Okay. So everybody put your hands in here. Now look at your hands. A lot of times people will teach downward dog with fingers pointing straight forward. It really puts a lot of pressure into your elbows. So what I want you to do is turn your fingers out slightly. So you don't see an L shape, but you see a J shape, okay? Also, people tend to bring their hands either really in too close or too far out. So I want my wrist underneath my shoulder. Now spread your fingers. If your fingers are touching, that's going to cause problems later on. When we talk about pressure in the wrist, you want to make sure that you're not putting all your weight in your wrist. So what I want you to do is I want you to press into your index knuckle and lift the back of your wrist up. Notice how the muscles in your hands just activated. That's right, you just saw it, you just were like, whoa! Because when I collapse in my wrist, the hands aren't active. So I want to kind of press into the pads of the palms. Now, slide your knees back. As you slide your knees back, lower your ears in line with your arms, like you're bowing down to the pasha. And my behind comes all the way to my heels. My behind is on my heels. Now, look slightly forward to start with at your thumb so that you don't push your ribs down toward the floor. Press into your index knuckles. Now, lift your knees up and push the floor away from you. Feel how the energy is moving up the front of your body, and your ears are in line with your arms, your lower ribs are moving in, and your tailbone is lifted. So there's energy moving up the front of the body all the way to the sit bones. This looks better. Come down to the knees. Okay, see, that's why we're going to count to 10. Okay, now, so that's the front of the body. There's energy moving up the front of the body. It hits the sit bones and moves down the back of the body. Everybody take 2 blocks. Take your blocks, put them against the wall. Now, come onto your knees. Put the ball of your foot against the block. Your toenail is on the floor for right now. And we're going to do that same thing. I'm going to reach my arms forward. I'm going to push my behind back toward my heels. I'm going to push into the floor and move my shoulders back toward my hips. Then I'm going to lift my knees up and I'm going to step 1 heel at a time onto the block, as if I have a little 2-inch high heel shoe. Okay? So now my foot comes down. You can help me adjust. Put your heel on the edge of the block. Yeah. Now, everybody, I want you to do this in your knees. Reach your knees in a micro bend and push the floor away from you.
Bend your knees a tiny bit. Yeah. Bend your knees a tiny bit. Yeah.
It's a little micro. Yeah. Push your chest back. Don't move your hands up. Don't move your hands. Okay? So your knees do not have to be locked. Step your heel onto the block. Move your foot. Right there's where I want. There. Bend your knees a little. Push your chest back. Good. Then come down. All right. Did that feel like the downward dog you did in the beginning? Okay. So in a down dog, what we're looking for is an isosceles triangle. Okay? When I measure my down dog, like this, notice how that my torso is already active. By pushing into my hands, I'm just hyper-lifting the hips. I'm not straightening the legs because that's going to move me forward. I'm keeping the knees a little bent so I can lift the sit bones up and push the floor away from me and stretch the hamstring right where its attachment is at the sit bones. Now, another measurement of a perfect down dog, because your body is a perfect measurement of itself, is to come forward to a plank. If I have to walk my hands or feet forward in a plank, I've shortened my down dog too much. So my hip crease is the hinge for my down dog. Okay? So everybody, come onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Push your behind back toward your heels. Keep your toes tucked under. Reach your arms forward. Now, lift your knees up. Do not lock your knees, but lift your sit bones, coming into a downward facing dog. Measuring your plank. On your inhale, come forward to a plank. Notice you don't have to move your hands or your feet. Now, lift your hips, soften your knees, push back through your shoulders, go to a down dog. Now, stepping forward, remember the diaphragm. Pull your belly in. Look forward, lift your hips, round your upper back, and step your right foot forward into your hands. Good. Push through your left heel. No bend in your left knee. Look at my left leg. It's active. I'm working on hamstrings today, so I'm not dropping my hip. I'm not bending. I'm about to run like a sprinter. Now, push into your hands. Lift your hips. Kick your right foot up and step your right foot back. Now do that on the left. Lift your hips. Pull your ribs in. Pull your diaphragm in. Step your left foot forward into your hands. Push through your right heel. The right leg is active like you're heating up your hamstrings. Then step your left foot back. Downward facing dog. On your inhale, come forward to a plank. Notice that you don't have to move your hands or your feet. And exhale, go back to a downward facing dog. Do that again. Pick your right foot up. Step your right foot forward in between your hands. Now, step your left foot next to your right. And fold over the legs, pressing your palms down with Tanasana. Now, with straight legs, on your inhale, rise up. Extend your arms. And exhale, hands by the side to Tadasana. All right, teach the servants.
This is, yeah?
Now, call it to them. They do
okay.
it all. Now,
Okay.
Let's do it again.
Okay, let's do it again.
I would say, if you have trouble stepping your foot in between your hands, use your blocks. Go get your blocks if you need them. Don't. That's the thing. You need to learn how, when and how, if you need props. Don't let the teacher tell you to use the prop. Get to the point where you know you're practiced enough that it's okay that you need a block, right? When you have the teacher saying, you should use the block, you should use the block, and you're unaware of your own practice. So, get to the point where you know what you need for your practice.
Okay, so stand in Tadasana, come forward in between the two blocks. Stand in Tadasana, exhale. Inhale, hands in prayer up. Exhale, Uttanasana, bend forward. Hands on the block. Inhale, right foot come in a lunge. Back, all the way back. Exhale, left foot join the right foot, all the way. Downward facing dog, lift the hips. Inhale, come to a plank. Come forward, look forward. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips lifting up. Inhale, right foot come forward in lunge, all the way in between the feet.
Right foot.
Exhale, left foot join the right foot. And bend forward, Uttanasana, prem pass down. Inhale, hands in a prayer, lift up. Forward. Exhale, Tadasana.
Go to the left side.
Inhale, exhale, fall forward. Uttanasana.
Or use blocks. Palms down or use blocks, or you're not in the Uttanasana. You're just hanging over your legs. It doesn't mean anything.
Inhale, left foot come back in a lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips lift up. Look at your ankles. Inhale, come forward to a plank. Look forward. Exhale, left foot come forward. Right, down dog again. Inhale, left foot come forward. Exhale, right foot join the right foot, and bend. Uttanasana, press with your hands on the floor or the block. Inhale, hands in a prayer, lift up forward. Exhale, Tadasana.
Terrific. Thank you, Bernie. It's very hard to teach this stuff, let me tell you. It's quite challenging, and I'm tough. And I'm also tough. All right, is there any questions? Is there any questions about that Surya Namaskar? Yes. So that's a really good question. There's some weird turn of the century drawings that we have of people doing yoga asana and using things like trees. Like there's an image of one guy hanging upside down with his knees wrapped around a branch, and then people, but not props as we know them. They just didn't have that kind of manufacturing. But when we talk about yoga props and where they came from, the majority of the yoga props that we use and we experience come from Master Iyengar in the Iyengar train in the practice. And Iyengar was also a student of Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya is the father of modern yoga. If you're interested in yoga, these are kind of names you should know. He's the first Indian man who was willing to teach women yoga. This is why Krishnamacharya is important. Because he was the one who said it's not right that only men can learn these practices. And he broke the tradition in the 1900s, 1920s, and he started teaching women. And Krishnamacharya was Iyengar's uncle. And that's how Iyengar learned yoga, because Krishnamacharya was like, well, if you're going to live with us and eat our food, you got to learn yoga and you got to become a yoga teacher. And so that's how he became a yoga teacher. But Master Iyengar created over 1,000 props for yoga. So everything that we're experiencing today, the yoga blanket, the yoga prop, the yoga belt, the yoga mat, are all things that Iyengar created in his own practice, learning to try to how to get deeper into things, and then shared it with his students and his teachers. He also, just so you know, he created chair yoga. Like you see chair yoga out there and it's treated in America like it's like for old folks. Like, oh, yes, chairs are good for old people who don't have balance. You should see the stuff that he was doing with chairs. It's like crazy, tie yourself in a pretzel while sitting in a chair. It was not for the faint at heart or gentle. It was him trying to get deeper into the yoga practice. So that's where most of your yoga props come from historically, is from Mr. Iyengar. Any other questions? But that's a good question, because I think students, if you want to take yoga, you should know that kind of stuff. No, absolutely not. Like I said, he was creating the props so he could get deeper into his practice. He was creating them for himself. He was like in his own personal sadhana. Then he was sharing them with his teachers, like, oh, look what I did. I put these ropes on the wall and look at my back bend now, So he was doing stuff like that. He was almost like the guy who invented Pilates, who was creating all that equipment for himself and then shared it with other people. So after you do all those, did anybody feel a little warmer after your sun salutations? That's what sun salutations are. Sun salutations are the calisthenics of yoga. They're really to get your body moving, to get your body heated up so you can go deeper into other asanas. So back in the good old days, before we had yoga mats, we would just had mud floors. You would have like done some Surya Namaskar, and then you would have sit down and you would have done Paschimottanasana. Everybody say Paschimottanasana. So Paschimottanasana means intense stretch of the Western body, okay? In yoga is a sister science to Ayurveda. Ayurveda is Indian medicine. So I don't really teach Ayurveda, but it's good to know that they work together. The body is divided up into directions. This also happens in Chinese medicine. The soles of the feet are the south. The top of the head is the north. The front of the body is the east. The back of the body is the west. So if Paschimottanasana is intense stretch of the Western body, then that is telling us that stretch is happening. Not only like where we like to focus on forward folds, it's happening from the heel to the nape of the neck. It's not just the hamstrings. Now, there's always a lot of talk about hamstrings in yoga, right? The hamstrings are 3 muscles You see these 3 little red dots right there? That is your sit bone, that pointy bone right here. Those 3 dots are the attachment of the 3 hamstrings. They are 3. And they run down the back of the leg and they attach at these little dots right above your knee. And then the hamstrings stop so the knee can move. And then they start again and they run down to the Achilles heel. Now, hamstrings, when we talk about hamstrings are one of the few muscles in the body that it's one straight line. It doesn't wrap around. It doesn't twist. There are a lot of other muscles that wrap around and twist and come up and go over there. That's not true of hamstrings. Hamstrings are direct line energy. But it's good to know a couple of different things. Like, one, where are your sit bones? So everybody reach into your glutes. These are your glutes, your big muscles of your behind, and kind of push in to those muscles and feel those pointy bones right there. They kind of tickle when you hit it finally. You kind of feel like, oh, that's a little tickle. That's because that's where your hamstrings are attaching. They don't attach up here in your back. They attach right here. So a lot of times when we talk about forward folds, the teacher will say and make a statement, sit with your sit bones, are those pointy bones that we just touched plugged into the earth. Okay? So let's take a blanket. Take a folded blanket, and I want you to put it at the front of your mat like this. I'm going to change my direction so I can face you, so that the rolled edge of the blanket is right there on that mat. Now, the fringe, if you have fringe, turn the fringe to the back. So just rotate your blanket, because I want as much rolled hard edge as I can get. And you're going to put it right at the edge of your yoga mat. Yeah. Okay. Now, here's when sometimes teachers will say, sit on your blanket. I'm going to be specific. I'm very specific about the way I teach. I want you to sit with your sit bones on the edge of the blanket. So I'm not sitting in the middle of the blanket. I'm like Humpty Dumpty. I'm sitting on the edge of the wall. Okay, so come sit down with your legs on the bamboo floor. And like I said, you're not sitting your behind in the middle. You're coming right there. And you can rock back and forth, and you can feel those 2 bony bones into the rolled edge. Now, when I sit on my sit bones, what do you notice that happens in your upper torso? Do we? Or like, just sit. Don't worry about bending forward. What's happening now when I find my sit bones? Woo! All of a sudden, do this. Roll back on your tailbone. Notice how you're slumping. Okay, so when the teacher says, come sit on the sit bones, they're saying, also find an erect spine. Now, notice how that, what did we do also earlier that's like this? So Veronique, notice the connection. What is it that we did earlier that we set like this? Right? Remember when we were at the wall and we did like this? And I said, that's your downward facing dog. This shape, if you lean back, you're not in the down dog. If your shoulders are over your hips, you're in the same shape as your down dog, right? So your shapes, I want you to notice this in the yoga. Your body only makes so many shapes. It only folds in so many directions because of the movement of joints. What your experience is constantly taking that shape and putting it on its hands and its feet. Then setting it on its behind, then setting it on its back, then setting it on its head. But the body only makes so many shapes. His body is not as diverse as everybody likes to. The hips fold forward. The rotator cuff of the shoulder is pretty wild. The knee only bends back. It doesn't bend forward. Okay? So notice if you're working on your down dog, you also probably want to work on your Paschimottanasana, right? How many people already, just by pulling your toes back, you feel your hamstrings? You don't feel anything stretching down through here? Pull your toes back. Okay, so this is called dorsiflex. Dorsiflex is when the toes come back towards you. Now, I want you to point your toes away. Do you feel any stretch in your hamstrings? No. You feel a contraction now. You feel a stretch in the front of your shins. Okay, so that means this is called plantar flex. There are two different flexions of the ankle. Plantar flex is going to stretch the front of the leg. Dorsiflex is going to stretch the back of the leg. All right, now take a belt, okay? And then take the belt and put the belt around the ball of the foot. Now, pull the toes back towards you and then lift your ribs up a little bit and find your sit bones and set up nice and tall. Now, already there should be a little bit of intensity here, and you haven't even folded forward. But there's a certain awareness now of the back muscles and trying to find that downward dog setting on your sit bones. And I feel the back of the body stretching. Now, just creep your little fingers down the belt and see if you can reach the arms forward until your thumb touches your little baby toe. Yeah, you can move forward, like creep your little fingers down. Creep your little fingers down. And listen, there's never been anybody who's died from tight hamstrings. Never. Never. It just means that you're feeling your body. And I say this sometimes, and I'm not being sarcastic. Thank God that you're feeling it, because when you're dead, you won't ever feel it again. So don't be afraid to feel what the body does, right? And as you fold forward a little bit, pull yourself forward. And now what I really feel is, now I feel my back and my shoulders, and maybe all the way to the nape of the neck. I feel like a little bit more intensity. Just breathe. Look slightly forward. Look at the wall in front of you, just forward, and like try to pull your chest forward a little bit. Exhale 1, inhale. Exhale 2, inhale. Exhale 3, inhale. Exhale 4, inhale. Exhale 5. Okay, inhale, lift up. Okay. Now, that is Paschimottanasana to start with, right? We haven't even done a full one, and there's already that intensity that's happening, that oot in Sanskrit, right? That's in there. Now, let's talk about something real quick. Okay, sometimes teachers make a statement, and sometimes as yoga teachers, we make statements that we shouldn't make. People will say things like, have a straight back. Okay, let me inform you today, and next time your yoga teacher says this to you, say, that's impossible. Because if you look at this spine, it is a curve. It's an S curve. It curves in at the neck, it curves out at the thoracic spine, it curves in at the lumbar, and then it curves back out at the tailbone. There is no way that can become straight. It will never be straight. It has never been straight. You wouldn't be able to walk if it was straight. Okay? So we're not looking for a straight back or straight spine. We're looking for extension of the spine, which means that I'm making space in between the vertebrae, that I'm elongating it. Sometimes what happens is, because of things that people do habitually, like go to work, that you're rounding so much, because young people today, like when I was in college, there was no computers. So we didn't sit and text and do all this. And you find that there's a lot of more rounding through here than what there used to be 20, 30 years ago. because people are in a constant forward fold. So what I've gotten to do is where I've people used to tell you to look down at your knees and your shins in Paschimottanasana. I am like saying we shouldn't be teaching that because people's bodies have changed and this device is changing. So if you look down, you round your back if you already have a tendency to round. Okay, so let's try this. I want you to take a second blanket. Okay? And we're going to take that blanket and you're going to roll it once and then twice from the top. Okay? And then I'm going to sit down with my sit bones on my blankie and my legs extended. And I'm going to take my rolled edge down here, diaphragm, go back to diaphragm. Here are my lower ribs. Here is my hip crease. I'm going to lean back a little bit and I'm going to slide the blanket right underneath my abdomen. And then I'm going to lean forward and I'm going to set my ribs on top of it. So I got to pull my diaphragm in to get it there. Watch what I did again. I'm not just setting it in my lap. I'm pulling it back against me. I lean back. I'm not just setting it in my lap. I'm pulling back. Then I'm lifting up and I'm sitting on top of it. Okay, I'm catching it under my ribs. Yeah. Now, as you catch it underneath your ribs, take your belt and put it around the ball of your foot again. Then pull your ribs forward and look forward. And then see if you can fold forward. Maybe this time you can hold on to your feet. But you want to take your bend out of your elbows. You want to extend your arms. So notice how you're bending your elbows. Now, for you, because you've got a lot of rounding in your upper back, lift your chest and then pull your chest forward, not your head down. And see if you can put your chin on your toes like this and take the roundness out of the upper back and breathe. Inhale. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. Inhale. Exhale 3. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. Exhale 5. Good inhale, lift up. All right. Now that you should have felt some stretch not only in the legs, but in the back. Okay, so this is important. It's not just hamstrings we're looking to stretch. We are looking to extend and make space through what's called the lateral chain. The lateral chain of your body. You see these red dots here, these big ones? The muscles attach here, they run up. You see how they attach in that rib cage? You see how they attach to the scapula? And see how it wraps around and it attaches right there. That whole muscle, chain of muscles down the side of your body, if that gets tight, you can't lift your arms. You can't reach forward. And us rounding the upper back and looking at the computer all the time is shortening that muscle and rounding it. And so therefore, when we talk about Paschimottanasana and forward folds, we need to focus not just here in this obsession we have in modern yoga with hamstrings, but it's happening from here to here. It's going all the way through the back of your body because you need to be able to move healthily through the body so that you can extend the arm up and push the ceiling up like we did in down dog. Because if your elbow was a little bent and you were out here a little bit, right? That means that there's tightness through here, may not be here, but it's still the back of the body and it's in the laterals. Does that make sense? Interesting stuff, right? So yoga just gets you to know your own body and how it works, right? Everybody say Janu Shirshasana. So Janu Shirshasana means head knee seat. The head is coming to the knee. I kind of still think that's a little old-fashioned, especially if we're trying to find length through the upper back. So it may be like the head of your chin wants to come to the head of your toe. That way you make some length. So everybody, take this blanket out to the side, extend your legs out. You guys stay seated on I like everybody kind of sitting on this little blanket for a little while. Bend your left knee, open up your left knee, put your left foot on the inside of the right thigh. So notice here, there is an external rotation of the left leg that we've created. And you will feel a stretch in what we call the adductors, the inner thigh muscle. Okay, take a blanket and put a blanket underneath your left knee. Okay, especially if your knee's off the ground, because that means there's a little tightness in the hip flexor or the adductor. I don't know which one, if it's hip flexor or the adductor, but it's somewhere in the inner thigh if there's a little tightness. Then do the same thing. Take your belt. Put the belt around the ball of your right foot. Now, we'll take a moment and this idea of using the diaphragm. Inhale deeply. Make some space. And then exhale everything out and pull yourself forward. And here again, imagine that I'm going to put my chin on my toes. And I'm pulling myself forward. Now, I may feel that I got into a deeper forward fold here than when we were in Paschimottanasana. I should feel something happening in the right leg all the way from my heels to the center of my back. 2, 3, and 4. And then inhale, lift up. What did that feel like? Intense stretch. Did you feel like you could fold deeper? Okay, now that's very interesting too. Asymmetrical asanas. This is asymmetrical. Paschimottanasana is symmetrical. Both left and right are the same. Asymmetrical asanas, people usually can fold deeper in. Because one side of the body is making a little more space by doing something different. So that's also very interesting. If you're working on like tightness of hamstrings, then maybe you want to work a little bit more on something asymmetrical than symmetrical. You know, give like the right side a little work, then give the left side a little work. So take the left hand to the left knee, lift the left knee up, and extend the left leg. I know that sounds like I'm being very fussy and but I want to show you teach you a little something about like the hip. So the hip is a ball and socket. You have 2 ball and socket joints in the body, the hip and the shoulder. The shoulder is a true ball and socket. It's 180 degrees. It will go anywhere you want it to go unless there's an injury and lack of mobility. The hip is a ball and socket, but it's not a full 180 degrees. It's a hinge ball and socket. You can do things like this, where you just kind of let the knee go over to the side like a dancer. Dancers do that all the time. They open the hip up like that. Hip does not like it. The hip is a ball and socket hinge. It likes to move into the chest and move out, and then move in and move out. But you can do this. However, I was in the performing arts for a number of years. I knew so many dancers, by the time they were 30, they had hip replacements because it wears out the cartilage of the ball and the socket. So when you come to yoga, think about lifting up, in, and down instead of across, like cutting across the town square to get to the other side quicker. Okay? Because the hip can do it, but it doesn't like it. Doesn't really love it. All right. Bend the right knee. Open up the right knee. Put the right foot. And then a little blanket underneath the right knee. Yeah, that's going to give you a little bit of support, especially if your knee's way off the ground. Like I said, I don't know if it's in the hip or if it's the inner muscle. I have no idea. Then take the belt, put it around the ball of the left foot. And as you get the ball of the left foot, take a little inhale and pull your diaphragm in and up, and then exhale. And then as you exhale, pull back evenly with your shoulders, trying to move your chest or your chin onto your big toe. Try to take that rounding out of the upper back and the shoulders because you're little here. So you got to move the chest forward. That's better. Inhale. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. Inhale. Exhale 3. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. Exhale 5. Good. Inhale, lift up. And then lift the right knee up and extend the right leg. Any questions about Janu Shirshasana? Yes. So the knee likes to come into the chest and then open up. So, but when it's like I do the slide and I slide, you see, I'm kind of like slide. I'm kind of like that. It doesn't like that. It can do it. The body can do it. It just doesn't like it over time. And when people who do that, like modern dancers and dancers who do a lot of like weird hip opener kind of things to get the knee, like it just wears out the hip socket after a while, you know. So when you it's and depending on like with Chloe, she's got like a tight hip flexor. So I would not suggest kind of doing stuff like this. I would be very mindful in how I open up and close because your hips are tighter, and I don't know if that's the ball grinding against the hip socket, if it's tightness of the muscle. I'm not a doctor. All I do is I can see the energy blocks. I can see where the energy isn't moving, right? So there's something there, and so I would be mindful of how I come in and out of things, right? Does that make sense? But yes, a pigeon, but a pigeon, even if I came into a pigeon, because a pigeon is a forward fold, and it kind of in the same way, it's a Janu Shirshasana. I would bring my knee forward and then over to the side. I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? I would be kind of like, oh yeah, let me do this and then move it where I want to go. Be a little more mindful instead of just flopping into it. Well, it brings awareness to what you're doing, right? Instead of just flopping into something. That's why I always said, listen, whatever you're doing, any kind of physical activity, all this stuff has to be taught to people because we actually create our own injuries by just doing things habitually that may feel comfortable at first, but then you find out years later, you're like messing everything up. All right. Come off of your blanket, and everybody move your mat back to the wall. And then I want you to put 2 blocks against the wall like that. And then I want you to put a 3rd block in front of it. Now, when we talk about twisting and forward folds and hip openers, I've gotten you to become aware of the sit bones, but you should also be aware of this little triangular bone right here called the sacrum. Okay, if you want to come up and look at it, you can. You don't have. If you can't see it, come up and look at it. This is the tailbone. This is the coccyx. Notice how it wiggles. That still moves, but this sacral bone is fixed. It doesn't move. It's part of the vertebrae, but it doesn't. It fuses together as you get older. Okay, and it stabilizes the hips. But it's also a part of the body where you can kind of start to attach and move things to it, like the sit bones. You can kind of say, is my sacral lifting up? Is it sitting down? Is it rounding? Where is the sacral? Okay, so there may be a lot of, like when teachers teach, there may be a lot of alignment given through awareness of sacral. And this whole area is called the sacral celiac. That's the whole hip range, sacrociliac. Okay? So where the hips attach to the sacrociliac. Come and sit with your sacrum against the block. And your legs extended out. Now, straight legs. There you go. Now notice how this is like the sit bones. As soon as I say attach your sacral to that block, you're sitting in that L shape again, like we did in downward dog. We learned downward dog at the wall, or we learned Paschimottanasana. So sit bone awareness and sacral awareness, key to coming into forward folds, right? If I lean back, I'm slouching. If I lean forward, my sacral leaves the block. But when I sit with cranial sacral alignment, whoa, when the crown of the head is over the sacral, people pay a lot of money for that, learning that kind of alignment. You can learn it for free in yoga, okay? So here, bend your right knee into your chest. Now this time, step your right foot a little higher above your left knee. Yep. Now I want you to bend your left knee and bring your left heel to the outside of your right hip. So go the other way. Go to the windows. Bend that. No. The right foot over there. Bend your knee that way. Yeah. Now as you do that, if you have a tendency to sit on your left heel, move it out so that you can find the sacral again. Then lift your arms up. And as you lift your arms up, notice how you may lean over to one side or the other, even out your weight bone and your weight and your sit bones. Now bring your left arm on the outside of your right leg. Left arm on the outside of the right leg. Your elbow, put your elbow on the outside of your right leg. Now take your right hand to the wall behind you and put your right hand on the wall. Yeah. And then push into the wall and get your cranial sacral alignment again. So your spine is upright and you're pushing your right hip crease down into the floor as much as you're pressing your left hip into the ground. Now bring your right hand to the block closest to you with your hand almost touching your hip, not to the wall. Now push into the block, lift your spine, roll your right shoulder to the wall to the left, and look over your right shoulder at the wall. Adva Matsyendrasana. So as you press down, rotate that. Oh my God, look at all that space we have there. Look at there. Okay. So this looks good, except we're going to go here and we're going to look at the wall. Good. And breathe. Inhale. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. Inhale. Look at the wall. Exhale 3. Good. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. And exhale 5. Good. Inhale, come back to center. So this looks good. I'm going to adjust you just a little bit. You're leaning a little, there. And then come back. All right. And then come back to center. Now, counter twist to the left. Keep your cranial and sacral alignment. So put your left hand on the wall behind you. And then look back at the wall at your left hand. Notice how you're keeping your cranial sacral alignment and not doing a forward fold. All right. Now come back to center and extend your legs out in front of you. Everybody say Adva Matsyendrasana. Adva Matsyendrasana. Adva is half. Matsyen is a fish. Drasana is a man. Seat. It's a merman. Or it's really a saint who was trapped in a fish and a fisherman catches him and releases him. So the lower half of the body is a fish. The upper half is human, right? But it's a spinal twist. Now, when we talk about the spine, like I said, the spine is never straight. Don't ever think that you've got a straight back. You don't ever have a straight back. But the spine does twist. And If you are in a twist and you start to twist and you don't have the sit bones and the sacral plugged into the earth, notice how you're just going around in circles. It's like a bullfighter's cape there, right? It's like, ooh, it'll just go everywhere. Okay, if you plug those sit bones and the sacral down into the earth, when you twist the spine. Now, when you go to the chiropractor, what does the chiropractor do? Chiropractor gets you in a position and he twists the spine so that it releases energy blocks. It's exactly what they do. So when you're twisting in a yoga class, that's what you're trying to do. That's why we do not teach here, and I see a lot of this. We don't teach like the counter twist doing this, because that would be anti-intuitive to like actually twisting the spine in the opposite direction to neutralize it, because there's no spinal twist there if you kind of lean over and fall over, right? So it's very important to do the spinal twist in the opposite direction. And sometimes you'll do this and you'll pop your own back, right? You won't have to go to the chiropractor. You do it yourself. Okay, let's do the left side. Extend your legs out. Then bend your left knee and put your left foot on the outside of your right leg. A little higher this time. It can go above the knee because you're making a little more space. Now bend your right knee and bring your right heel to the outside of your left hip. Go the other way, other way. There you go. Now try not to sit on it and try not to lift your left hip to get it over there, because that's what you're trying to do. You think you need to get it back under here. It just needs to stay there, and that needs to sit back down. So this wants to be free. You're not sitting on it. All right, now push your left big toe down, lift your left arm up. Your right arm up, and then bring your right elbow on the outside of your left leg. Right elbow over here. Good. Now take your left hand to the wall. Push into the wall and get craniosacral alignment. Yeah. Then float your left hand down onto the block closer to you. And then as you float it down closer to you, notice how you lift the chest. Now push a little bit more in your left hip. And as you twist over to the wall, look at the wall. You may have to put a little more weight over there in that left hip so that you get craniosacral. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. Inhale. Same here. A little more weight here. Exhale 3. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. Exhale 5. Then inhale, come back to center. And then counter twist. Put your right hand on the wall. Keep your craniosacral alignment. Yeah, there's the spinal twist. And then come back to center and extend the legs. All right, any question about Adva Matsendrasana? Adva Matsendrasana is also a neutralizer, right? So if ever you feel an intense asana, something's intense to you, child's seat, that's like kind of the generalized yoga. Go into child seat. Child seat's a forward fold. It's no guarantee that that's a neutralizing of spine. So if you feel something funky like after a asana, try twisting. It's a much more powerful neutralizer, okay? So it's than child seat, because it may be forward folds that's aggravating your sciatica. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but you may not want to go in a forward fold. So sometimes there's not a generalized remedy that you can give people, right? But I would always suggest twisting, because that's what the chiropractor does. Okay, any questions? All right. Final hip opener. Everybody say Agni Stambhasana. Agni Stambhasana means fire log seat, okay? And when we talk, remember I said your hips were a ball and socket. Notice that my leg is kind of like a chicken leg. I don't hate to use that analogy, but there's muscle in the front, there's muscle on the side, there's muscle on the inside, there's muscle in the back. When people talk about hip openers, most people think this right here and think about adductors and stretching adductors, the inner thighs. But a hip opener can happen in any direction. In fact, Adva Matsyendrasana had a hip opener because you were stretching the abductor on the outside of the leg. If you had a hard time sitting that hip down, that's because there's tightness on the hip on the outside, right? So that's a hip opener. While we're focused on twisting, it has a minor hip opener, okay? So with the legs extended out in front of you, bend your left knee into your chest, open up your left knee and slide your left ankle underneath your right knee. So I kind of have an inverted figure 4, and I can see my left foot on the outside of my right leg. Then bend your right knee, pick your right foot up and put your right ankle off your left knee. So sometimes this is called ankle to knee because my ankles and my knees are touching. Now remember when I talked about dorsiflex, plantar flex? Take your hands to the soles of your feet and pull your toes toward each other. Notice how that contracts the front of my shins and it protects my knee joint. When I point, I relax the knee joint. It's easier to stretch the ligament. I don't want to stretch ligament. I can stretch muscle. So pull the toes toward each other. Now, the little tightness in the hip over here to the right. So take both hands over to the right. Both your hands over here. Lean a little into it. Lean a little into it. Oh, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. And then walk your hands around and kind of fold, bringing your elbows in front of your shins and pull your toes toward each other. Keep your feet active and breathe. Inhale. Exhale 1. Inhale. Exhale 2. Inhale. Exhale 3. It's okay. It's okay. Inhale. Now it's opening for her. It's moving. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. If it goes down, I leave it. Exhale, 5. Good. Inhale, lift the head and chest. Good. Now lift the right knee and extend the right leg. Lift the left knee, extend the left leg. So you felt your right hip opening up, right? So like if there's movement there, I tend to let people kind of breathe into it instead of putting a prop underneath it. If it's stuck, then that means like you put something, give it some support. But if there's some slight movement of the hip opening up, the muscle's ready to relax, right? So what this is hitting is the piriformis, which is in the back of your glute, right? It's running, your gluteus maximus and gluteus minus are the two that you can touch. These are the two muscles you can touch. Piriformis is kind of underneath there. It attaches to the sit bone also, but it runs to the side of your hip. And when that gets tight, it's hard to open the leg up to the side because then the leg, that pulls, okay? So bend the left knee, put the left ankle underneath the right knee. You got a figure 4 shape kind of going on here. Front shins kind of parallel. So I'm sorry. We're going to right knee, bend your right knee. Put your right foot underneath your left knee. Yep. Then bend your left knee and lift your left foot up and put your ankle on top of your right. Now, because this is an asymmetrical asana, you may find that this different sizes are different. This side looks tighter to me. Yes, put a blanket underneath this side. Definitely, because that's a lot different. And like why, I have no idea. It could have been like an old injury when you were a little kid. It could be the way you're sitting in your chair at work. I have no idea. But there's a difference energetically. Now, lean a little bit over to the left. Put a little weight in your left hip. And then walk your hands forward in a semicircle. And then breathe. Inhale. Exhale 1. Keep pulling your toes toward each other. Exhale 2 in a dorsiflex. Inhale. Exhale 3. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. Exhale 5. Good. Inhale. Lift the head and chest. Lift the left knee. Extend the left leg. Lift the right knee. Extend the right leg. Any questions? So, All of those forward folds and hip openers really are kind of the foundation of a good practice. We're going to work on a few moments of shoulder stand, Salamba Sarvangasana. Everybody say Salamba Sarvangasana. Means all supported limb seat. So take your blocks, move them off to the side. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is can I use your mat? We'll take a blanket. I'm going to put the blanket down about 12 inches away from the wall with the rolled edge toward the center of the room. Yeah. And then I'm going to fold the blanket over so that I have a little cushion. Okay? All right? Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to sit with my shoulder, and I'm sitting on the edge of my mat. I'm going to roll onto my back with my head on the floor and my legs up the wall, right? We did this last week. It's called Viparita Karani. But for shoulder stand, I'm going to lift my hips and I'm going to put my feet flat on the wall. I'm going to reach back. I'm going to touch the wall, and I'm moving my hips toward the middle of the room. I'm going to put my hands on my back. I'm going to lift one leg up, followed by the other, and I'm going to balance on my back of my head and my shoulders. I'm only going to stay here 5 breaths. Then I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to do a deep forward fold. I'm going to lift the legs back up. I'm going to put the foot on the wall, other foot on the wall, and I'm going to come down. Okay? So you do that. So come sit with the shoulder against the wall and a hip against the wall at the edge of your mat, not in the middle of it, but the edge like we did with the blanket. Because that way you can roll into the middle of your mat on your back. Yep. And your legs up the wall. All right. Now, from here, bend the knees and put your feet flat on the wall. Now, push your hands into the floor and lift your hips up toward the middle of the room. You're going to put more weight in your head. Yep. Now, see if you can bring your fingers to touch. See if you can get your fingers to touch behind your back. Notice how they got your elbows a little closer in together? Release your hands, but put your hands on your back, not your hips or your butt, but your back. So move your chest toward your chin. Oh, there. Oh, there you go. That's better. Now, lift one leg up into the air. Good. Now, lift the other leg up into the air. You can do it. Go for it. You can do it. There you go. Look at you. There you go. And breathe. Now, move your hips a little bit toward the middle of the room. Oh, there. Don't breathe. Exhale 1. Inhale. Good. Exhale 2. This looks great. Exhale 3. Inhale. Exhale 4. Inhale. Exhale 5. Now bend your knees. Bring your knees onto your forehead. Let your knees touch your forehead. Where's your forehead and where's your knees? That means you got to go into a deep forward fold. It's a forward fold. Good. Then lift your legs back up into the air. Yep. Straight up toward the sky. Now bend one knee. Put it onto the wall. Put the other foot onto the wall. Take the hands off from your back and lower your hips down. Intense, right? Okay. Bend your knees into your chest and roll over to one side. So that's a deep forward fold. There is no back bending there. It's a forward fold. Front of the body's contracting, back of the body's stretching. But it's one of the deepest forward folds you do. Come sit up. Okay, now let's take the mat, unfold the mat, and move the blanket. Well, let's use the blanket. So from here, you would neutralize. There's a lot of neutralizing in my practice, the way that we do things here. So we want to neutralize your forward folds with a little bit of a back bend. I'm going to take the blanket. I'm going to roll it up like it's a vegan cannoli. And then I'm going to put the blanket right there, and you're going to lay down with your nape of your, right there, that bone right at the top of your spine, right here with your head hanging off the bolster, the little rolled up blanket. And now take your top of your head to the floor and look at the wall behind you. Legs straight. And then chest kind of lifts. And so you're going to put your crown of your head and you're going to lift your shoulders up just a little bit and let your head go back. Oh, there you go. So now you're going to reverse the energy of having your throat crushed and do a back bend to neutralize. And and now it's the reverse energy. And just breathe. So here, you're going to come down a little bit that way. Now put your hips down. There. So here again. So look. Take one hand here, because that's where you want to tell it, there. So if it's too low, you won't get that energy. And then press into your elbows and come down. And then lift the chest up and come off of the rolled up blanket. Okay, like you gotta lift your chest up. You're going to come out of there. I know that feels so good. It's like, oh my God, that feels so good. I just want to stay here all day. Take your rolled up blanket and put the rolled up blanket underneath your knees. And then lay down on your back. Now you get what everybody loves about yoga is shavasana. A little corpse seat. So here, just close the eyes. I'm going to give you a little guided relaxation. And starting with the toes, tell yourself toes relax. Soles of the feet relax. Ankles relax. Shins relax. Knees relax. Thighs relax. Hips relax. Lower back relaxes. Abdomens relax. Chest relaxes. Upper back relaxes. Hands relax. The wrist relax. Forearms relax. Upper arms relax. Shoulders relax. Throat relaxes. The face relaxes. The crown of the head relaxes. And finally you realize the whole body has relaxed. Gently start to deepen the breath. And as you deepen the breath, make small movements with the fingers and the toes. Stretch the arms overhead. And stretch the arms and legs in opposite directions. Bend the knees into the chest. Give the knees a little hug. And then gently roll over to the right. And just stay in the right side for a second. And pressing the left palm into the floor, lift the torso up and come up to a seated position. Just take a moment, set on your blanket that was underneath the knees, set up nice and tall. Here again, it's kind of connect, you're learning everything that you've done, you kind of connect to the sit bones if you say set up tall. That way you don't round the back or slouch. And just close the eyes for a second and inhale deeply. And exhale everything out. Do that one more time. Inhale deeply through the nose. And exhale through the nose. And then gently bring the hands together. And bow the head slightly, closing the practice. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Veronique. And good work for everybody. Next week is back bending. Back bending, I think it's the hardest week we teach. That's subjective, but I always thought it was the hardest week. So come back to that. And then if you missed week 1, just pick up at the beginning of the month. Okay? We offer it 3 times a week. Tuesdays at 5:30 with Amy. I teach Saturday, and Purnima teaches tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. and Sunday. And we're all teaching the same curriculum, but we may have different little insights or different prop usage, or there may be something slightly different that we do. So it's kind of fun to go to other people's. And if you're coming to the studio, it's great to mix this class up with opens. Like when you mix this class up with opens, you really do understand how we teach in opens. Because the way that we teach in this is consistent through the other parts of the practices that we teach. Because it's a method, we see it as a methodology. It's kind of like going to learn, like, ballet, and you practice ballet. You don't practice jazz, It's nothing wrong with jazz dancing. It's just not what we're teaching. So come back, and any questions, I'm happy to answer. Any questions for Veronique? She's happy to answer. All right. Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I'll keep mine. Yeah, you can keep your, because you got to teach with me next time. Yes, ma'am. Like kind of like a goddess thing. Malasana. Oh, you said Malasana. No, I don't think so. Because